Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we are going to look at a sentence that honestly shouldn't make any sense at all. Get this. The highest earner in your office will probably never retire, and one of the lowest earners, they might be completely done with work by age 45. I know, it sounds crazy, but let's dive into it. Today, we're breaking down the incredibly boring yet completely magical math of early retirement. And look, we're not talking about getting lucky with some random meme coin or selling a tech startup here. We're going to look at the exact, cold hard numbers that actually dictate your financial freedom.
So let's start with Section 1, a tale of two workers.
To really wrap our heads around how this works, we need to look at a pretty stark, real-world contrast. First, take a guy named Robert. On a random Tuesday morning, he's 47 years old, he's making coffee in his sweatpants, no alarm clock, absolutely no commute. He is never going back to work. Now look at his coworker Zoe. For 2 decades, Zoe sat literally 3 desks down from Robert and she out-earned him every single year. Yet she is still crawling through the exact same bumper-to-bumper traffic she's sat in since her 20s, probably drinking an expensive oat milk latte in the cup holder of a leased SUV that she still owes 30 grand on. So how on earth did Robert get out while Zoe is still trapped in the daily grind?
Well, that brings us to Section 2, the one number that matters.
The answer to Robert's whole mystery comes down to exactly one piece of math. Your salary, your good luck, even a decent inheritance, they are basically irrelevant compared to this one specific thing, your savings rate. That's the percentage of your take-home pay that you actually keep and invest instead of spend. Let's put this into perspective. If you save 10% of your take-home pay, you are looking at roughly 51 years until you can retire. 51 years! That is a literal life sentence of working. But if you bump that savings rate to 25%, suddenly you're down to about 32 years. Push it to 50%, and the whole thing completely collapses to around 17 years. And if you go wild and push it to 75%, you are roughly 7 years from broke to entirely done. A high income alone retires absolutely nobody. I mean, if you earn $500,000 a year but you spend all of it, your savings rate is 0, and you're going to be working forever.
So why does cutting your spending collapse your timeline so incredibly fast? Because earning more money only pulls one lever, but spending less pulls 2 at once. It's doing double duty. Every single dollar you stop spending is, first of all, a dollar you can now invest, so your savings go up. But simultaneously, that exact same dollar permanently lowers the amount of money you actually need to survive on for the rest of your life. It's like the finish line literally slides closer to you while you're running.
And this introduces us to a silent killer called hedonic adaptation. This, right here, is exactly why Zoe is still stuck in traffic. Every time Zoe got a raise at work, her lifestyle just crept right up to match it. A slightly bigger apartment, the brand new leased SUV, the fancy lattes. Her raises were completely absorbed by her new standard of living, so her savings rate never budged an inch. Robert? He did the exact opposite. Whenever he got a raise, he just kept living like it never even happened. He quietly took that extra cash and invested the gap straight into broad index funds.
Which leads into Section 3, calculating your true target.
Okay, so we know the main lever is your savings rate. But the obvious next question is, what exactly are we pulling that lever toward, right? Before you can walk away from your desk forever, you need a target number. For about 30 years now, the gold standard answer to how much do I need has been the 4% rule. Basically, you take your annual spending, multiply it by 25, and boom, that is your target number. The original theory from 1994 said you could pull 4% of that pile out every single year, adjusted for inflation, and practically never run out of money. But there is a massive catch we have to talk about. That rule was built for a 65-year-old having a standard 30-year retirement. If you were trying to pull the plug on working at age 45, well, your money is going to need to last 50 years, not 30.
And frankly, here is the new reality. We aren't in 1994 anymore. The stock market is historically pretty expensive right now, which means future returns might actually be lower. Because of this, modern researchers suggest that for a 50-year early retirement starting today, you probably shouldn't pull 4%. You should be pulling closer to 3.5%. What that means for you is your target nudges up from 25 times your spending to 30 times your spending. So yes, the target is a little bit bigger now, but keep in mind, that savings rate lever we just talked about still totally wins by buying back decades of your precious time.
Now let's move on to Section 4, escaping the age penalty.
Right about now, I know exactly what you might be thinking. You're saying, okay, even if I hit this magic target number, isn't my money legally trapped in retirement accounts until I'm 59 and a half? People always wonder how you're supposed to retire at 45. Like, do you just stare at a locked vault for 15 years and eat ramen? The truth is, that is almost entirely a myth. That whole lockup excuse,
It's dead. There are completely legal, 100% IRS-approved trapdoors that early retirees have been using for decades now. There's the Roth conversion ladder, which we'll break down in just a second. There is something called Rule 72T, which lets you take steady, equal withdrawals completely penalty-free, although it is a bit rigid. And finally, people constantly forget this one. Your direct Roth contributions, meaning the actual cash you personally put in, can be taken out at absolutely any time, tax and penalty-free. Why? Because you already paid the taxes on it. Your retirement account isn't a sealed vault. It's more like a vault with a side door, a back door, and a couple of unlocked windows.
The most popular side door is this kind of boring 5-year conveyor belt known as the Roth conversion ladder. Let's walk through how it works. Every single year, you move a chunk of money from a traditional account over into a Roth account, and you pay the standard income tax on it right then. Then you just wait exactly 5 years. After that 5-year timer is up, that money comes out completely penalty-free. If you keep this cycle going, it essentially spits out a tax-free year of living expenses every single 12 months for the rest of your life. You really just need a standard, regular brokerage account to bridge your expenses during that very first 5-year wait.
All right, Section 5, the healthcare cheat code. So the money isn't locked up. Awesome. But what about the absolute final boss of American early retirement? The one massive expense that genuinely terrifies everybody: paying for health insurance before Medicare kicks in at age 65. Trying to buy health insurance on the open market is exactly what chains people to jobs they absolutely hate. But here is the secret most people miss. Insurance subsidies are based entirely on your taxable income, not your overall wealth. Early retirees essentially have this strange legal superpower. They can have a literal $1 million sitting in the bank, but because they are living off those Roth withdrawals and savings that don't count as taxable income, they legally look dead broke on paper. This allows them to qualify for massive health insurance discounts and subsidies. It is basically a cheat code left in the tax system by accident.
Which brings us to Section 6, the grounding reality check.
Look, I really wouldn't be doing my job here if I didn't pull this soaring, magical math back down to earth for a second. Let's just be brutally honest with each other. A 50% savings rate is dramatically, wildly easier when you make a lot of money. If you earn $150,000 a year, living on half of that is going to be uncomfortable, sure, but it's highly doable. But if you earn a median income, living on half means trying to survive on roughly $40,000 a year. If you have kids, if you have medical issues, or if you just live in a high-cost city, that borders on impossible. Anyone on the internet who tells you early retirement is equally easy at every single income level is frankly just trying to sell you something.
But please, do not let that discourage you. Even if 50% is impossible, I want you to remember just one number right now: 14. That lever of your savings rate, it works at every single income level. You absolutely do not have to leap from saving 10% to 50% overnight. If you can figure out a way to simply go from saving 10% to saving 20% of your income, that one single, seemingly small adjustment pulls your retirement timeline in by roughly 14 years. That is 14 entire years of your life bought back with a lifestyle change that most people, like Zoe in our leased SUV, will never even attempt.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one big question to chew on. What is your freedom date? You don't have to want to retire at 45. The point of all this isn't the specific age you quit. The point is that the choice actually exists. The math is real, it is sitting right in front of you, and the only thing standing between you and your absolute freedom is a percentage that you entirely control. I challenge you to sit down, pull up your next paycheck, and run your own numbers this week. You might be surprised. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope it changes how you look at your money.